Hi there, Randy Green here. It is Sunday, September 20th, 2020, and technically it means the numbers are 20, 11, and 6, and this means it's a very significant day. It is a day of justice, of balance, and of solutions, or what we could call judgment, results of what has been going on. There is still a little bit of negotiations that need to fall into place, and we won't know this, as I said, until November 11th, where the result of some of these forces and some of these challenges will be known, and then we will decide what to do next. But there has been other things in the making, and I would love to be able to give you this before it has already begun its manifestation process, but at the end of the day, I also know that many of you are technically not capable of making a difference on that level of a reality yet, and I must, in this one, choose to be as honest as I can be with the level of understanding you have for the time being, and grant you as much information as I can so you know what you're dealing with, because this is not about preparing anymore. This is now damage control. And I want you to understand the severity in what I'm saying to you. You have had the two previous videos, Civil Agents for a Better Future, and Resistance to Change and how to solve it, to deal with your fears, to remain in a productive level of your emotional spectrum, where you will use your emotions as a driving force to find solutions and not to hold you back in fear or in agony or in despair, because none of these emotions will be helpful for us in what we are to face. Now, all of you seekers of the truth and seekers of information of what is actually going on, there is always many levels of our reality, and as I keep saying, I have covered the levels of what is going on with the New World Order, negative alien agenda. It is still playing, and it's still in play, and it will run its course as it's supposed to. And the way of saying this is that once it goes into manifestation, it has a cycle, and that cycle must complete within its own setting and leading to what it will lead to. And the ones that are involved are now so deeply rooted into it. So for those of us standing on the outside and having tried to help for a very long time and change these circumstances, there are unfortunately not much more we can do for that group of humanity. Which leads us into the two other groups of humanity, which are now in discussion of what we can do and how we can do, and what is the damage control on our planet and on our solar system, and what are we facing of challenges in the years to come. At the other end of the spectrum, as the Extinction Protocol and the ones that are connected to the fall grids, we have had the progressive grids as the highest level of our reality. Due to the circumstances and how the fall grids are eating their way through our planetary core and through our planetary grid, in spite of the reactivation and the resetting of the planetary core, the level of our reality as if we know it within the frequency setting in the third dimension or third density, all depending on from what level you're looking. If you're looking from frequency setting, it is the third dimension. And if you're looking at it from a density level, it is technically the vibrational state that are similar to the third density, but not within the realms of seventh to ninth dimension. These are other levels of reality. But within our scope of things, just saying there are different vibrational circumstances that calls it something else, all depending on what network you are looking at. From others, we are saying this is the second density, and that is the second density we will encounter first when the sun begins to fully play into our reality, which is in the making. And there I got a little bit derailed with the what is going on. At the other end of the spectrum, in the progressive worlds and in the higher order levels of our solar system, and how our universes are built up, and the ones that are a part of the original cycles, the decision has finally been made as a unanimous A of all of the council members of the highest progressive councils, to retract the upper templates of whatever is left of the progressive humans within our reality. From my angle of things, this is a necessary move, considering that we are having the third cycle and the dark cycles eating their way through of humanity, meaning that the few that are still having their upper template will be susceptible for this takeover, and in that the upper template that is linked to the progressive worlds will come in grave danger. And to secure the progressive worlds and the true human races that exist in other levels of our reality and are to continue their evolution for eternity and in infinitive cycles that are not linked up to the regressed, infected, reverted, inverted, and utterly and completely negative timelines that our system unfortunately is being chewed up by. This is the right move to make, and it is the right move because it is for the highest good of the many. This puts us in a different situation, those of us who are left here. And this puts our work in a different perspective as well. As the upper template is cut away from all of us, including me, means that our work will now not be about getting reconnected to our ancient genetics and try to reconnect to the library and the racial grids. It will be for us now to get control of our organic vessel, get control of our lower order fields, and do whatever we can to follow with the lifting of the energies that are going on, step one, within the Pegasus host field. Not that I can recommend that for most of you, but secondly, with the new grand cycle and the lifting of the energies that will lift us up from beneath, going through our organic form into our emotional field, into our mental field, and from that gives us the possibility to recreate our original constitution of the original vessels we used to have. Again, with great caution, because in this we are also becoming accessible for the underworld forces that are lying, lurking just beneath and just above what we're trying to reach. As I said, it is the right solution, and I have always voted for this solution. For many of you, it will come as a shock, and I can only say that we have been trying our very best from the progressive worlds, and I'm here talking on the behalf of the councils, to find all possible solutions. And I know that because that's what I've been working with for the last 4 years. We have done every single possible scenario, trying to solve every single possible attempt there could be made to assist the humans within our system and their original organic structure and their original template, to restore this to the best of abilities, including what was sent here 2,500 years ago and were taken out, and in that sent the signal to the progressive worlds that no one in many ways on this planet were willing or ready to do what it took to return to the original progressive ways. It was a clear signal because the mission that was sent here were in that energetic state that to be able to take it out, it had to either be infiltrated, which it was, but it also had to have a high level of agreement of what we could call the interior government of our planet to execute what happened there, and that is what happened. Now, this has not taken away the progressive councils and their attempt to try continuously through different voices on our planet to assist the ones with the original lineages and the original human and humanoid genetics that were part of the original Pillar project. We do not leave people behind, but due to laws and due to jurisdictions and due to the ones that have had our planet under control, it is different levels of reality with different types of laws and different forms of penalty. I have shared that in the whole philosophy book, and you should understand the dynamics there. Also meaning that it is, with the rehabilitation zones, possible for every individual that choose to do so and work for it and are clearing his or her energy system, no matter what gender, no matter what race, no matter what sexual orientation, and no matter what religious belief system you might have or might not have. This is a possibility for all, because at the end of the day, human value systems and the human social norms and the human psychosocial structures are creation of races that do not support what the progressive worlds can offer. So with that in mind, this is an offer for everyone. Everyone is as such welcome, but they are welcome by their own effort, by their own means, and by their own energy work. With that said, that was the other side of it, meaning that things are narrowing down. What is also happening, aside from our core that is chewing its way through the underworld layers and will come our system at some point, it is also pushing what is down there to the surface. And many of you have experienced a high fertility rate right now in some sectors. And if you link it to the previous information I just gave 2 seconds ago, you should be able to conclude this on your own, what that means. From where I am talking, this future that I want us to work for is for us to be able to make the last 40, 50, or 60 years of our lives as pleasurable as possible. And when I mean pleasurable, I mean in a manner that will allow us to, whenever we are ready to shed our organic form in a natural way. There are no suicides here, please. No thank you, because that would not solve anything. Your ticket out is your organic vessel. So those of us who will remain and complete the cycle here, because we're here, we are in organic form, and we are on this planet as it undergoes its transition into the different density layers of which it is composed. We must do what we can to live in a way that will allow us for a personal choice when we come to the last 5 years of our organic life in and on this planet. So this is what I mean with as pleasurable as possible. With that, solutions also have to be taken, and this is from where I talk now. The solutions on a human global scale. I know scientists keep telling us that we have only lifted up to 1.1 degree over what they set as this is the demarcation line for a heating up of our planet. And I will try to explain you why that the heating of our planet, aside from the fact that it is of course combined with a high level of greenhouse gases that are in many ways densifying our air quality and are removing the abilities of the sun to go in and do its different, I forgot the English word for it, but photosynthesis processes within leaves and within our ocean, and all of the big grand mechanisms that are running our planet as it is in its current engineering. Notice every single word I'm saying here. Our core consists of density energies, and our current outer version of a planet is within frequencies. As the density energies will chew their way from inside and out, chewing away the ancient grids that allowed for organic vessels as we know of them, but will also support in the transitioning of them for those that are ready to work with these density energies. We are also at the same time experiencing the change of our sun, because the sun is the core or the center of our solar system. And technically, our planet should be built up in different zones the same way as our solar system. Not with planets, but within different dimensional settings from where different life forms can exist. The outer planetary construction, as we know of it today, is a result of the timeline event. The timeline event is no longer a matter that we should concern ourselves about because, to use it in human terminology, it's gone. It has retracted to its initial event, meaning that it is going dormant. It is ceasing to exist. And with that, all that came from it, it is the cause of an enormous amount of events. And because the cause is gone, the events will dissipate as well. This will take us back, and we are in that process already, to the original density settings of our solar system. So this means from inside and from outside, our reality is changing into density energy, reality grids and networks, and different organic forms. As you know, those of you who have been working with biomaterial, you know that your consciousness units are the sole engineer of your organic vessel. Your consciousness structure defines what type of organic vessel you have. Your template defines that in a more secluded way, including the templates that were created to engineer this organic form that we are currently operating through. As things change into density energies, and with the removal of the upper template that technically held the excess, the surplus of genetics we had from previous timelines or the earlier stages of the Pillar project. We are now left with who and what we are in this life. So we must be as we are and should be with the energies around us to diminish the distortion energies. The distortion energies are technically what you see as the greenhouse gases. The pollution are the result of wrongful use of energy. So that is the main problem for many societies around our planet. So with that in place, you will also understand now that when I say that the heating of our planet is not due to greenhouse gases, but it is due to the changes of our magnetic field. Here, I'm not talking from the angle of sciences, because as always, they are looking from the angle of frequencies, and right now they can measure fluctuations in the magnetic field, but their sensing systems are not subtle enough to notice the dissipation and the deconstruction of our magnetic field. The magnetic field comes from the combination between our core and its interaction with the sun. It is our protection sheet for cosmic radiation. But due to the changes in the universes around us, the cosmic radiation will change as well. We are still having the background, noise from the timeline event in physical frequency measurements, but in density measurements, it is gone. That was the foundation for the frequency energies. With all of that said, the races that remain and are trying to, the enhanced humans, as well as the remaining grays and remaining regressed and the host field from the Pegasus, They want to, of course, try to prolong the current version of our reality as long as possible, because they have made our planet a huge player in many of their trade systems. Now, it is and has appeared, and this is also why the progressive councils have decided to take away the upper templates, to shut down that trade system. Because technically, as long as the progressive genetics was still possibly and had a potential link up to the organic vessel, these genetics were sustaining unhealthy economies, unhealthy trade systems, exploitation systems, enslavement systems, and all sorts of grids within what you could call the imprisonment systems. Therefore, it has been decided to remove them to collapse these systems. Notice all of the different factors I am giving you here. What does that mean to us? And what does that technically mean to the weather changes? As I said, it is technically not climate changes, but it will come as climate changes. It is not a climate crisis. It is a crisis of much larger proportions. The enhanced humans have tried to prolong this by building a frequency network, which I talk about in the bigger picture. This has unfortunately not proven to be strong enough. So the next step has been put in. These steps are all about their attempts to try and prolong their production facility. It has nothing to do with the salvation of humanity. Just so you know the difference and you know what you're up against. As the magnetic field will shift from a frequency-based electromagnetic field and into density core flows, which those of you who have read terology will know what is, meaning that our original density core, which is positioned in the 6th dimension, will begin to create its original rays and emission fields. New currents will be created. These will link up to the original grids of our solar system. These grids are not from the progressive worlds, but are part of the original universal structure we used to belong to. Those of you who read philosophy, the whole philosophy book, you will know that we situated this pillar project within a jurisdiction that belonged to the ancient ones. As we link up to the original universal structure, the lowest point of existence on our planet and in our solar system will be in the 6th dimension. It will not be in the 5th, and it will not be in the 4th. Therefore, the remaining races that are here are trying to prolong their existence here as long as possible. And the 5th dimensional New Earth frequency network, let's just call it Skynet, has not succeeded. So that is kind of off the table, and the negotiations that are going on there will continue, and I will not look further into that. What I will address here are the 4th dimension, which is the dimension of settlers that are closest to our reality, that are technically fueling animal life, insectoids, avians, reptoids, and all sorts of life forms on our planet in different variations of either possession, attachment, a symbiosis, or literally just having their hive mind structures inside our reality in whatever forms that they've chosen to exist in our manifestation field. These races have been leaving the last 4 years and will continue to do so. Many of them are unfortunately still under the control of the regressed. So they will have to await the regress races to pull out, which they will do for now. It appears to be within the next 3 years. They will move into the Pegasus system along with the future version of the Niburians that have offered the Pegasus host field into our reality. Right now, the Pegasus host field is what's keeping our world still within the frequency settings as they are, but this is changing, and they are not interested in keeping the frequency settings. They want to change our world as much as everybody else back into densities. Their goal of providing a host field is not to salvage humanity. It is to salvage their own timelines, to clear out their own technologies, and clear out everything they invested into our solar system, ending with the Sumerian civilization. Not the Babylonian, not the Akkadian, not the Persian. These are other races. As they do so, and as they lift up with the core fields, they will expedite the changes from frequency energies and into density energies. This will weaken the frequency magnetic field further and strengthen the density field core flows further. For those of us who are doing this work, it is a plus, but we will learn to discern between the original core flows and the core flows that the Niburians are now generating. These are two different types of core flows. As we try and rebuild our organic form to adjust to the transition process and be able to survive this the best way possible and transform with it from inside and out, we should notice which type of core flows we are energizing ourselves with. And that will only be learned the hard way. There are no this or that, or this is how you do it, because that is part of the selection mechanism that is going on our planet as we speak and has been going on for the last 4 years. It goes without saying that our planet and everything on it has been pushed utterly and completely out of balance. And that will rebalance itself. As the core flows gets stronger and stronger, the only thing that will be able to follow these density energies are the ones that are capable of processing these energies. And with that said, this is not solely for humans. There are still other types of organic life forms here and in the 4th dimension and in the 6th dimension that will be capable of doing so. If the negative world order decides to pull entirely out, and if the Syrians that work with the 5D New Earth decides to do that as well, there is a possibility of an actual 5th dimension in our system as it originally used to have. But that one was the one that were taken out with the explosion of the 5th dimensional planet in our solar system, which is technically Maldak. Now, I'm thinking if I'm covering all the bases here. So what you need to understand is that we do have a climate crisis because that is what we have baptized it. But what you should shift perspective of is that it is a shifting of our entire planet into a higher vibrational state. And this is not ascension. I know many of you think it is ascension, but it is not. It is a recalibration back to its original settings. And those of you who want to understand ascension a little bit better, I think you should look it up. It is a Christian word. So that is also why I'm not putting it in use. And it technically means when a prophet is lifted up to God. Okay? That is technically what ascension means. But it has been blended in with other meanings. But what we are having is a recalibration. You need to know that recalibration because it runs in phases. These phases have a different vibrational state. And time is technically how fast light moves across time and space. That's kind of linked in together. Space-time is linked together, but it means how fast a particle moves through a specific type of what do you call it? Not continuum, but a kind of a special field. Sorry about that. I'm struggling with the two levels of information here, the normal human one and the higher density energies. But let's just go up to the higher density energies and say it in this way. There exists no time. Time is a result of how slow energies move within a density field. And that is a personalized experience. The more you lift in energy, the more quick time moves. And beforehand, we could say individuals could be capable of bending time within the space they lived in by changing their energetic vibration. As our planet and the magnetic field around it shifts into core flows, time will diminish, meaning that as our vibrational state of our solar system becomes less dense, because the intuitive one that has not done my teachings would say, well, fourth density must be more dense, or second density must be more dense. It depends on what level you're looking at it, because if you're looking at it from inside and out, it's the fourth density, and if you're looking from outside and in, it's the second density. That's why I'm also using these expressions a little bit put together and therefore difficult. But it means that things will be on the outside expedited. And this is the explanation I want to get you to. As we go into core flows and the sons of the energies grow stronger and stronger, and our frequency magnetic field dissipates and deconstructs, our entire planet will shift. And it has and it will be shifted through what is called fire, because fire is transformation energies. As you know from the sun, as it transforms its energies, it creates heat, it creates kinetic processes. This will, of course, change. Our sun will grow cooler eventually. But as our planet undergoes its transformation processes, and everything we have inside our reality under the frequency settings of the Schumann resonance, the higher type of energies that are coming in, that are beyond the measurable machinery of sciences, it will begin its transformation process of all of the distortion energies that humans have created around their planet, which is part of their organic vessel, which is part of their emotional field and their mental field. These higher density energies from the new grand cycle, from the core flows, and from the energies of the sun and the original cosmic radiation of our universe will blend together in an interference density density interference pattern. That's what I wanted to go to. Density interference patterns. Different sources of energies come together and create different ripple effects, which will create different nodal points that have peaks. These peaks will grow stronger and stronger and stronger, and as they do so, the sequences and the time between the peaks will grow less, because density frequency patterns and interference patterns, not frequency patterns, but interference patterns, and technically it's the wrong word to use interference, but the different sources of density energies will join together in a higher density, kind of synergy density field, from where cause and effect will come quicker. Aside, that is the transformation process. So that is what you need to understand that is going on right now. And as that happens, the residual effect of that will be heat. It will be fire until that level has been processed. Then comes wind, then comes water, and then comes the physical manifestation of whatever needs to manifest and fall apart and disintegrate. These different frequency patterns, because you can say the true energy of Earth is its core energies. The true fire are the solar energies. The true wind are the cosmic energies, because that's the sky, remember? That technically controls our weather pattern along with the magnetic field. And what do I miss? Sun, fire, sun, earth, water. And water is technically the original constitution of our planet, which and how it should be. And these watery energies are technically the fourth dimension. Anyways, this is a little bit symbolic talk and it's not that necessary, but just know that the four elements have these as their root, and they will be transformed accordingly so that we return to the original density setting. And I will know much, much more about that as we go into 2022, where I'll begin to see the effects on the different levels of our reality: ground, water, air, and light. So the results of the lifting energies and the change of our magnetic field into core flows are the source of the climate changes. But the effect of it and how it will be felt and the end result of it depends on the level of distortion energies, which are the greenhouse gases, which is the pollution, and which is the emotional and mental clogging that each and every human has. So how hard these energies and transformation processes will be felt depends on the level of distortion. It depends on the level of pollution, and it depends on the level of infected genetics. And I'm not here talking about the corona, but the original effects of the timeline of it. So I hope you understand that dynamic. And that is why when I talk about the climate crisis and why we need to do what we can to lower our emission rate of greenhouse gases individually as a civil agent for a better future, in our everyday life, the way we eat, the way we feel, the way we think will either pollute and create distortion or assist our planet in doing its transformational processes. And as this happens, with or without us, because it's going to happen whether we will it or not, our actions, our belief systems, and our readiness to follow with the shift and the changes of our planet and our solar system, because that's more correct, will define the hardship and the challenges we will encounter as we, as a planetary race, go through these changes. So this is, our upper template might be gone, but if we are capable of lifting ourselves along with these changes, adapting to the correct core energies, following the upgrading and shifting of our sun, by the way we eat, the way we feel, the way we think, and the way we process energy to ensure that we as well will create the core flows, and by that be a center of fire along with the world in fire, along with the sun of fire. And combining these different forms of energies and knowing when to use the correct transformational energies to purify our organic vessel, to purify our biofield, to purify our emotional field, and to purify our mental fields, the consequences of the shift will be easier for those who choose to follow with it instead of against it. In terms of normal human understanding and what humanity could do and should have done to minimize the distortion energies, aka the CO2 emission, the greenhouse gases, which they see as the main solution to make the climate changes less, to halt whatever is coming our way, so to speak, because they will not heat up the same way if we change the air quality. But this will not be enough as long as humans are carrying their own field of distortion energies. And all of this is in my books and in the whole philosophy book and in my classes. There's nothing here I'm not telling all of you who've done my classes. You should understand this without any tribulation. We must, those of us who are doing this work, live as emission CO2 friendly as possible. We must become as harmless as possible in our every way of what we are, and you have heard this many times before. And those of you who have followed other spiritual teaching systems, with this information, you should view your spiritual teaching system in a total new light, seeing that what was trying to be taught to you was about the changes that we are undergoing now and what you were supposed to do so you could follow the shift of the energies as our world recalibrates. And you could call that ascension. But ascension means you shed off your organic form and you lift out of it. That is what ascension has become. But this is not ascension. If you want to use a Christian expression, it is transfiguration. It is the complete upgrading of everything you are. We don't have to be crucified to get there. That's the false teaching system. But as we have 8 billion people that, from my perspective, aside from unbalanced breeding, instigated by the insectoid races that have controlled their portions and their product units to do so, the other effect of it, and the reason why that also was chosen, was an attempt to keep our reality within the frequency settings. This solution has led to other side effects that are 10 times more unfortunate. Because the more humans that are on the planet, the more distortion, the more wrongful use of energy, and the more demand for certain products, certain industries, and certain ways of living that is unsustainable for our planet. So this is also one of the reasons why it was important to get the insectoids off planet, because their production methods has not assisted us. But that does not take away the other issues that we have got going here. Technically, I have given you all the information you need now, and the energy of the higher order levels are retracting. So I truly hope that you will understand this in the way it has been given, not to scare the shit out of you, but to get you on your toes. And let me cut it down to pieces for you. Right now, the Pegasus host field, which is not our friend, but it is here, and it will keep things in a slight higher density balance in the fourth dimension for the next 5 years or so. That is the timeline as it looks now, the span of time as it looks now. But if the frequency field, the magnetic field around our planet shifts quicker, or the transformation processes of the distortion energies due to still a too large portion of humanity that do not understand, and I will put it in here even though that timeline has been exceeded, that still does not understand. It is an absolute, total, utter, complete no-go to use any animal products. We do not use other life forms to sustain ourselves. That is minimum. Vegetarians and meat eaters, no go. That's the first step. And there has been put plenty of information out there for all of you who understands energy to understand that this is an absolute no-go, if not in terms of understanding that you do not produce a life to kill it, to eat it, and to make shoes of it. You do not use dead animals to sustain yourselves in any way. It is an abomination, and I am very strong about that. There are no ways around this. And in terms of depopulation policies, I do not have to complete that sentence. But it also has enormous ramification on the distortion energies. And this is why it takes up, it's not just because we are having enormous amount of production animals on our planet, which is unsustainable in itself, it's unnatural. But it's the production and the killing and what is going on there, and the use of energy used to cook a steak, and even if you burn it on fire or whatever you're doing, the smoke of it, the smell of it, the distortion energies that comes from the whole process, from the beginning of the little calf that is born and comes into the world, and all I think is that it's here to be loved or whatever. I'm playing on your emotions here, but that's so those of you who haven't gotten it yet, I can only tell you, this is the last call, and I've decided to do it here. This is unequivocally the last call for those of you who want to continue to exist within the worlds that will try to move following the density energies. There will be no uplifting for meat eaters, because death is a wrongful use of resources, and you're using and are exploiting and enslaving another life form to make you your beef, your steak for dinner. You are an oppressor when you do so. I hope you understand the gravity in this. So after you hear this one, if you have meat in your fridge, if you still have animal products in your fridge, you toss it all out and you will change what is in your fridge to plant-based. And this is end of discussion. And I've given you the last warning there. And if you don't get it, then your resistance forces in you are so strong that you do not have the strength to fight them. Because all of the explanations in the world that can be given for why it is not okay to eat living life forms and kill them for your dinner has been given. So now, because of the narrowing down of the energies of our planet and the depopulation selection mechanisms of those that can continue following the higher density energies, which follows in stages, which narrows down the phases between the different density settings, becomes lesser and lesser. They become smaller and smaller because the core fields grow exponentially. Meaning, first we have 1 or 2 or 3 that is built up around the core with sections in between them. But as they regenerate themselves, they will exponentially create more and more and more, and that will accelerate the density energies of our planet, making it begin going from 4th dimension to 5th and into 6th. And it will jump the 5th dimension for now because there are no original 5th dimensional energies left. So it will jump from 4th to 6th. So we must do whatever we can to eat as rich energy food as we can. And those of you who will follow the energies, you will discover that this is not a simple task. That there are certain plants you can't eat, and there are certain plants you can eat. And it all depends on your genetics. For instance, I've been very fond of kale. But kale is technically a plant in itself. The leaves of the kale is part of the organism we call a plant. Plants have what we call phyto-DNA. They have plant DNA. This will shift as the energies of our planet shift into density, which will change the plants as well. And this is not astral energies, and they do not as such become little life forms, but they will shift their capacity. And with this, I'm also saying those of you who have living plants in your apartment or in your home, many of you who are sensitive enough, you will know your plant tells you when it's thirsty and when it needs new soil and when it needs a little bit of a caring touch. And this is not astral entities. It is the plant itself that has an information system that with the plant DNA, that is an information system that is behind all life forms. And as the energies change on our planet, the plants will change as well. Some will make the transition, others will spark to life and then dissipate. So this will be part of it as well. Kale, as I said, has been part of my food. I bought the last bunch 2 weeks ago and I'm slowly eating my way through it. I can't cook it anymore because it literally screams at me. And you know, this is already oversensitive, but it's not. It's because the plants are changing. That's all it's literally telling me. My kale has given me this information because it's part of a huge field of plants on our planet and the phyto-DNA that is changing as well. Meaning that as it becomes more enriched with complicated structures of density energies, certain levels of the plant is a no-go to eat because technically it will be seen as a sort of life form that is part of transforming the distortion energies of our planet, which they were engineered to be in the beginning. These are Pleiadian inventions. Plants are engineered information systems to transform energy, and it would be counterproductive to eat it when we talk about we need every single help we can get from the plants to transform the distortion energies, to produce what you could call negatively ionized air particles, because plants can do that as well, which will assist us in clearing out the air pollution. So it is extremely important that those of us who are plant eaters, we will shift along with these stages of what we can eat and what we can't eat. Meaning that 2 years ago it was okay to eat kale. Now it is not. Now it has activated to the level where it becomes an important player of the transformation processes of our planet. Meaning that if we eat that, we are going against the attempt to transform our planet with as many life forms intact on it to do the transformational processes into density energies. And again, I'm saying these are not from the progressive worlds, and these are not from the Pegasus or the future Niborian or the regress races or anything. This comes from whatever remains of the original human pillar project. Because what would be in our interest in the transition processes? To follow with the transition processes, aside from making it easier for ourselves, is also that with our understanding of what each single item of our planet is composed of energetically and information-wise, we will resume our original emplacement in the pillar project. This is part of the original construction. Meaning that if we understand the plants and what they are telling us and what their function is and how we can support that and make an alliance with nature around us to transform the energies, we will be working with our construction and with the pillar project. And in that, be recognized as a worthy player of what needs to be done to enable the transition process for the highest good of the many. And in the game that we are in now, it is important that you are recognized by the original construction and the original racial grids that goes with the core flows. Because otherwise you will be burned off as polluted, distorted energy that needs to be burned off so that the healthy energies and the healthy systems that remains can come back in play. Every single thing you do from here must be an expression of working with your reality. And that is why I'm talking about sustainable energy and civil agents for a better future and all the things I put in the previous 2 videos. Because these are just the humanized understanding of what I'm telling to you here. As you learn to read energy and work with energy and amplify energy in a way that allows it to transform itself and transform you in the joint work with whoever and whatever you are aligning yourself with, will be seen under the principle 6, which is correct partnerships. That is the number 6. As you work in alignment with your world and you understand the dynamics of transformation and you're working with the transformation in every single day and every single minute of your life to do what you can to alleviate the transformational processes that is necessary for our solar system to heal, you will come in balance with yourself and with your reality. And the emplacement will thereby be easier for you. It will be easier for you to knock on the door, to use that expression, to go through the pearl gate and get into the rehabilitation zones. It has nothing to do with the basileia of the Lord or the kingdom of the gods or whatever. This is the fields that belongs to the original planetary system. These are the fields of gold, everybody. This is the golden ages, or whatever mythology or religion or whatever you want to call it. This is nirvana, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But all teaching system is aiming at upgrading everything you are so you are capable to withstand the transformational processes between the shifting out of the frequency energies and into the density energies, where our planet will shift from what it is now into its original recalibrated state of vibrational energy that goes with the density systems of all of the true universes that follows the original cycles. And once it does that, it will begin to pick up of all of the other energies of the true cycles and the other systems that are following that, and that will amplify our solar system to an even higher level, which means that whoever is here from the humanoid worlds, which are different races, will not be capable of existing here the moment we reach the sixth dimension. So you also understand they're trying to hold that, but they can't. They have gone beyond the level where they can. And we are now in damage control from their perspective. They are also interested in lowering down the emission energies because they know that the more pollution there is, the more heat there will be generated. And the more heat, the more fire, the more pollution will be created. We know that from the wildfires, it creates an enormous amount of pollution. And these air particles will circulate around our planet and have ramifications beyond a system that is already to its knees. We have not seen the effects of the wildfires of that. We had the wildfires in Australia that will have its effect on the southern hemisphere. And we have now had the same type of wildfire in America or California that will have the same effect as the wildfires in Australia. These are two extremely important nodal points that will affect many, many different levels of our planet. California is based upon a fault line, San Andreas fault line, and that is one of the most important ones in terms of certain grids and certain access points into our planet. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. That is part of what's being negotiated about right now. What I want to put to you here, to live a CO2 friendly life, and I have made videos about the transformation and distortion energies before. But many of you still think that you have plenty of time to do this. And all of you are too slow. And I'm here telling you that time is narrowing down by the hour. Sometimes core flows are created 2 or 3 in sets per day, and that shifts our energetic setting overnight, meaning that the day before you could eat kale, the day after you can't. The day before, and if you're not on top of that one day before, it is okay, you're not violating any rules. You wake up in the morning, you do your kale smoothie, and bam, you will be penalized for eating kale because that has shifted its future DNA overnight and has become an intelligent life form that has now been included in the sector, which is seen as benevolent for the transformation or the transition energies of our planet. You need to be on your toes. As for now, you can say, what is then safe to eat? Fruit. And fruit includes tomatoes, beans, everything that you can pluck from a plant is what you can eat, because that is technically, you are not harming the original plant. You are, of course, not to ground harvest it so it can't put new offlings. But as such, you can say, as long as you just eat the fruit of it, which it would shed away anyway, so it can renew itself, you are not harming the original plant. And that should be in your mindset. So change your diet already now into not eating the plant, which takes away a lot of the green leaves. I know that is where we have got the photosynthesis from. I know it's still recommended as spinach and kale and all these kind of things. That will you'll eat it up, and then that will be because we don't waste food either. But we are very mindful when we do eat it to clear out and do whatever we can. And in that, of course, eat it as quickly as possible and then never ever eat it again, sending out the signal that this is to not waste resources by tossing it into the trash, which I have contemplated. But to be honest, putting kale that is now an important type of energy and toss it into the bin just feels, it appalls me. It feels totally wrong. So I'm not doing that. I'm on the contrary, I'm just eating my way slowly through it with full respect and understanding, and in the understanding with the kale that this is what needs to be done. And then I absorb the energy particles of it, and then I let them out of the gate system. So that's technically how I go around that one. But for you, you will find your ways by communicating with the plant and how you do this. And many of you are probably not there yet where you are on that level of expedited uplifting. So that was the first thing I wanted to tell to you, that from now on, you literally, everything you eat can only be the fruit of the plant. And that demands changes of your physicality and how you process food and how much fluids you drink and all of these kind of things. Because technically, those of you who have been primary plant eaters or root eaters, your metabolic system is slow. That's why you prefer that one. Whereas if you eat fruit, that will be too much sugar for you. And instead of burning it, you will produce fat. So this will demand a change of your emotional field. Those of you who still have human emotions and are centered in this, that is technically where I would say, well, fruit is probably not the highest, should not be the main intake for most of you. You will have to eat the fruit of such as bean and nuts and lentils and tomatoes and whatever veggies you can find that technically are fruit, cucumbers, whatever, but not green leaves or whatever you will come up with. You will figure out which root plants you can eat, such as which potatoes, what suits you, or if you're going to do pepper, all of these kind of things. These are processes you need to work your way through. But as the density energy shifts and you go higher up in energy, you will see that most of these, vegetables are actually slowing your energy metabolism down. And that goes into the question many of you have regarding raw food or cooked food. Something needs to be cooked for your body to be able to process it, and other stuff you read raw. Again, you will sense in what is the right dynamic for your organic vessel. Technically, the moment we eat fruit of all plants on our planet, most of them do not need to be cooked. Technically, only lentils in my diet are the only ones that need to be cooked, including potatoes, which sometimes I can eat and sometimes I can't eat. It all depends a little bit on the shift of the energies, but then I'll change it into something else. Okay. You will follow with what you can, but you must remember that the food you eat cannot demand a lot of energies of our planet. It has to be sustainable and resource friendly, meaning that in a world where water could become an issue, as well as how our soil is getting more and more polluted, which is also a good idea to let go of the fragile green leaves because they go directly down to the soil. As well as investigations, look it up on the internet, the high amount of arsenic that are to be found in rice, including the whole production of rice that demands an enormous amount of water in countries with drought, such as Australia. It does not become sustainable to buy rice because that is not a sustainable product. It does not work with our reality. It works against our reality, and technically it does not belong to Australia. it's Chinese, Japanese, belongs to their environment and their weather system, and how their soil and how their country is organized. These are some of the things we need to take into consideration as well. I think that is partially, much more can be said about this. But considering the enormous amount of material already put out for free, as well as what's in my whole classes and courses, and what I will continue to work with, what you should derive from this video is the dynamics that are running what we call the climate crisis. And therefore, with what I have told you here, you cannot wait for legislation, and you cannot wait for sciences, as we have also seen with the disclosure. These would be the last to acknowledge that we are past the limits of what we can do. I am telling you, on the behalf of whoever is running our planet and trying to get as many through the eye of the needle as possible, we are now, as a civilization, gone from what could be done to prevent it and into damage control. And that will come within a very short period of time. And that will change, that will be a game changer. The moment this gets in the normal population and it gets into the politicians, and it is grounded into a reality as a fact that we have now entered what's called damage control, and we're just reached into it, so it will be a little time before the rest gets it. But I'm telling you here and now, this is where we are. It's not a matter of 5 to 10 years. It's not. And last time I talked about this, I said perhaps 5 to 10 years, but now it has changed. And what I want to put in here as the last thing to add to that one, and to the tribulation of the transformation of our energies and what that means, and heat, and the sun that will be hotter, and the magnetic field that will grow weaker, and the tribulations that will come from the transformational processes of the original energies of our reality as they chew their way through the frequency energies on all life forms on our planet. And don't despair, the ones that are keeping these organic vessels are pulling out. That's why they are pushing them into wildfires, or leave them, and we see them flood up to the beach as groups of dolphins or whales or whatever that suddenly dies, or elephants that suddenly, as we've seen in the savannah in Africa, drop dead and nobody knows why. They are pulling out and leaving their carcass behind. Don't despair on the behalf of the ones that choose to do so. They are moving on. They know it's over. But for those of us who do not choose this, because the organic vessel of the human is unfortunately not created that way, unless, of course, we get ill or certain things happens to our organic vessel, and then we can shift out. And this is not to be done and taken lightly. And I am not advocating for premature death, because we are here to be part of that transformational processes. And this is where we will go from being the first of many that could have prevented what is here, to be the first of many that are now trying to do the transition process. Many of us will not make it, so don't romanticize it. And it's not easy. As with our planet, there will be heat flashes, by the way, and that's not because you are getting older, but that is part of the symptoms your body will undergo. It will undergo many different symptoms. And again, these are not ascension symptoms you know from the 80s and the 90s. These were the ones that were supposed to be part of the 5D New Earth, and what they experienced as they got enhanced with the New World Order genetics. These were the quote-unquote ascension symptoms they had. But the overwriting of our DNA and the change of our DNA informational structure, as we're seeing it with the plants, we will also have different transformational processes. And the more polluted we are, the more distortion energies we have, the worse it will be for us. The more the physical symptoms will be painful and unpleasant. And the more we do not understand how to clear it out and work with it, the more difficult it will be for us to follow up with the different stages of the uplifting that happens day by day, hour by hour. I think that's what goes with that one. What I need to put in now is the last piece of the puzzle. The enhanced humans have put in their last piece of technology for now to try and keep the changes in the magnetic field at bay, because the frequency network did not work as it is for now. It can be changed and they can try again. You never know what they will come up with. But for now, they have created what we could call zones. And these zones are now, and that ended 3 hours or 4 hours ago. Different countries, different sectors, different zones have now been selected to be put under certain, what we could call domes. And these are not something that is detectable because they are energetic. These domes are also density based. They are not there to keep up the frequency settings, but they are there to minimize what will come from the jurisdictions that houses humans that are not capable of doing the transition. I'm just keeping a slow pause there so this will sink in. So that is what they are for. And with that said, it has technically separated humanity into different zones. And these are not part of the progressive worlds, and these are not part of the emplacement. My material regarding the emplacement has nothing to do with that. And as you've seen from my many videos so far, they are all showing that whatever I put out there has been hijacked and demolished. And that is also why the progressives are pulling out, because their last attempt to give us what we needed was demolished and destroyed, showing that there are no goodwill on this planet. So that again leaves us up to the individuals. And that is why I will continue with whatever I come up with from here on will be focused on self-governance. Because the ones that will get through this are the ones that work for it and with it and alongside of it, that are able to follow the stages of the shift, that are able to adjust to what needs to be adjusted on a daily basis. So you follow the guidelines of the construction of what is okay and what is not okay, because that becomes enormously important. And why is that if you say it's not about penalty in the progressive worlds and in the original construction? No, it shows your ability to follow the original principles, to follow the original rules of engagement with all life forms, intelligence system, information systems. It doesn't have to have a beating heart, as well as the natural laws of energy. This you must show to the core fields of the construction, because otherwise, and I know I personify them here, but it is kind of, you can say, if you're not doing this, you're not in alignment with the original energies, and thereby you will then create distortion energies, and you will be repelled by the core flows. And if you're repelled by the core flows, you cannot become part of the original construction. You cannot do the transition. You must enable yourself to be recognizable energetically and genetically for the original core flows, for them to align with you and sustain you as a welcoming true human of the original worlds, where the original system itself will greet you with a huge welcome and assist you in your transformational processes. And as always, remember, whatever is out there will do whatever it can to prevent you from getting that information. It does not want you to reconnect with the original core flows of our solar system. Thank you.